Good day, folks. Welcome to another edition of Lumberjack Logic Live. I'm your host, Neil Johnson. So excited to be with you and bring the news to you. That's right, my fine fellow audience. No, I've got a couple big wins here. Actually, I'm going to tell you about. And I was struggling going through the news today, and I don't know, maybe you probably have too, because honestly, the news has not been very good. You guys have seen the terrorist attacks that have taken place in America, utilizing trucks, guns, and cyber trucks and bombs, all this stuff. And um, it's really frustrating when you are watching what's going on and seeing what's taking place and knowing that it appears that this outgoing administration has done so much harm to our country over the last 4 years. And now you're seeing this uptick right before, and it leads you down many conspiracy theory roads, okay? Obviously, Donald Trump is to be certified here in a couple days. Then we've got the inauguration on the 20th and so on. And you have to wonder what the heck is going on. So we will talk a little bit about that. But I don't know if you guys remember the Chevron decision. Absolutely one of the most monumental, consequential Supreme Court decisions to have come out lately. And I'll give you just the general thesis of this if you're not real familiar with Looper Bright or Chevron, whatever you want to refer to it as. But basically, we have an administrative state in this country. That's the EPA, it's the ATF. It just goes on with all these three-letter agencies. And they are making law. Okay, they're just making law up out of thin air. Now, those of you who listen to me are pretty well educated. How do you make law in this great country, folks? How do you actually make law? Yeah, please do me a favor. Smash that like and do chat in with where you're from. Good to see Wyoming on board. Hopefully I can draw a tag for Wyoming this year. Or Montana, Johnny Strayhorn. Maybe I can get back into Montana for elk hunting. But how do you, you have to go through Congress, bless grandma. And so for that to happen, a bill gets proposed, right? And then but it's not a law yet. It's just a proposed bill. That bill then gets gone through, and then it gets signed it goes through House and Senate, gets signed, so on. Then it goes up to the executive, the president. He has to sign that to make it a law. Okay, that's how it works. And then if the law is, unconstitutional, meaning it defies the Constitution, that is left up then to the Supreme Court to then determine the government overreach. But instead, we have three-letter agencies doing this. So here's something really big that just took place. I'm going to give you two big wins, but we're going to start with the first one. I'm going to pull this right from my friend George on X. Breaking, the Sixth Circuit Court just ruled to permanently block Biden's plan to expand the government's control of the internet using net neutrality rules. Now, I'm not going to get into all the background on net neutrality. Suffice it to say, people think, oh yeah, this is good because we want this free and open internet. I'm just going to tell you folks, since when in the course of human events has the government having more control over something led to more freedom? Okay? I'm just saying. The judges ruled that the FCC no longer has the power to make up rules out of thin air. Okay, and this all goes back to the Chevron case. We acknowledge that the workings of the internet are complicated and dynamic, and that the FCC has significant expertise in overseeing this technical and complex area. Yet, post-Looper Bright, the capability, if you will, cannot be used to overwrite the plain meaning of the statute. Incoming FCC Chairman Brendan Carr says today's decision is a good win for the country. Over the past 4 years, the Biden administration has worked to expand the government's control over every feature of the internet ecosystem. You can see it in the Biden administration's effort to pressure social media companies into censoring the free speech rights of everyday Americans. Now, we've seen that not only on YouTube, we've seen it on Facebook. Actually, I think Facebook's probably the worst. I mean, some of you are probably still use Facebook quite a bit. Unfortunately, like if you want to buy something today of classifieds, you have to use stupid Facebook because people aren't listing stuff on Craigslist anymore, which is by far a better search tool and doesn't populate your search with a bunch of other crap you don't want. Anyway, that's right, Tara. That like button is free. Thank you. So anyways, the Supreme Court just gave the incoming Trump administration the green light to dismantle the federal bureaucracies. So you have to understand that this decision actually has a greater decision. I'm going to get into the EPA here in just a second, but this is just a further continuation of federal agencies not being able to write law, which, if you guys like guns, I've got a prediction here. I'm just going to give you one of my bold predictions. I hope you guys are ready for it. Suppressors, some people call them silencers, but they're suppressors because they don't silence, okay, are no longer going to have a $200 tax on them and be overseen by the ATF. Now, interestingly enough, and many of you probably aren't into the suppressor issue, I am. I think it's ridiculous that we can't just go out and buy suppressors. Okay, and we're supposed to pay a $200 tax to go through this whole permit application. Over in Europe, which is communist, okay, freaking communist Europe, you can go buy suppressors at hardware stores. So I'm just saying, because what's the big deal? I mean, if you've got the gun, you know, it's nicer when you're out hunting to have it suppressed. It actually reduces recoil. There's so many advantages. I've shot suppressed, folks. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. If you haven't ever shot a suppressed gun, you need to. It's the greatest, okay? But anyways, I believe that will probably be coming. But here, you guys, are you ready for some more great news? Listen to this. So many problems are beginning to sort themselves out because of the fear of Trump in D.C. and in these federal agencies. But thousands of employees at the Environmental Protection Agency are on the verge of quitting before Trump takes office. I mean, this would be just awful. I mean, I think the staff at the EPA are in a state of shock. Not because there's an effort to downsize the EPA, although there should be, but because there's an effort to smash EPA and to politicize the civil service in a way we've never seen before. That's former EPA attorney Tim Whitehouse. Former high-ranking EPA official Matthew Tejada also says, staffers are calling me day and night in a panic. Folks, if you can't, do me a favor. Just give a hand clap in the chat for that, because the EPA is one of the most heinous three-letter agencies out there. I mean, if you're a goddamn rancher out in these states, they come on you, you know, water. It's just, oh gosh, they're just the worst. And this is why you have all these stupid vehicle rules where they absolutely make your vehicles cost way more than they need to. I had a turbo diesel, and they have what's called a DPF, diesel particulate filter, in them that they didn't used to have. Now, this diesel particulate filter went out on mine. $3,500 because of the rare earth elements in it. And it makes the car run poorer, and it gets a less gas mileage, less fuel economy. So they say that they're doing this for the environment, but if you've got less fuel economy, I mean, what's actually developing more carbon emissions, okay? Anyways, this is just exciting that these bureaucracies, these federal bureaucracies, this is the greatest win. Now, I do want to cover some of this other news that's going on. There's a lot of weird stuff going on out there right now, folks. So another huge thing that just broke. Congress just released bombshell findings on the January 6th pipe bomb investigation, revealing that the FBI, folks, get ready for it, you're not going to believe it, engaged in a massive cover-up. I know, you're like, Neil, that's not, it just can't be. Listen to this. Now, you knew this, okay, I understand that, okay, but listen to the new evidence here. The committee determined that there is conflicting information as to whether the FBI received corrupted cellular data from the major cell carriers. A former senior FBI official testified that the major cell carrier companies provided corrupted cell data to the FBI and suggested that the bomber, that the corrupted data may have contained the identity of the pipe bomber. However, in response to letters from the subcommittee, the major cell carriers confirmed that they did not provide corrupted data to the FBI, and that the FBI never even notified them of any issues with accessing the cellular data. After more than 1,400 days since two pipe bombs were placed on Capitol Hill, the FBI has made no arrests, has charged no individuals with planting the explosive devices. Since its initial progress in the early weeks and months of the investigation, there has been little meaningful progress toward the apprehension of the suspect. So what you're telling me now is that the FBI, just days afterwards, could track down all these people who were doing tours of the Capitol, but they can't find the pipe bomber. Let me ask you a question. Does anybody in my audience believe the FBI anymore? Yes or no? I'm just curious. And if you didn't see that beautiful clip of the presser with Senator Kennedy, where he literally shoved the FBI spokeswoman aside, you've got to see it. Maybe I'll pull it up here and just do this ghetto. Now, it gets more interesting because we've got, the FBI on that front. Wait till you hear the other fronts. Okay, so you guys have heard, okay, there's three events that just took place here, like in the last 24-hour span. There was the Cybertruck explosion outside of the Trump Tower in Las Vegas. There was the situation with the guy who ran the truck through all the people, okay? And then there was the shooting in New York. There's some common themes here going on. Now, you have to understand, too, that the FBI is the one, along with Joe Biden, who told us that the problem is not Islamic militants crossing our southern border, but is instead you, if you're white. He's on record as saying it, people. This is not made up. It's not fake. Joe Biden running around saying that the big problem is what? White domestic terrorists. So, coincidentally, they found one, right? Now, here's what's interesting. I want you to look at this guy's shirt. So this is the, I want you to look at his shirt. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Coughing like that on you. Do you know what the shirt is? First off, let's see who out there knows what the shirt's all about. So this is the guy who blew up Cybertruck. I mean, it's so dumb what he used. It does, none of this story makes sense, okay? No, it's not Antifa, it's Ukraine. It's a Slava Ukraine shirt. Okay, now, interestingly, if you remember, Ryan Ruth was his name? Ryan Roof, whatever. Remember the guy who tried to, take out Trump at the golf course who had the gun? Okay, that Ryan character, he was big on the Ukraine thing. And you'll remember the guy had no money, couldn't make child support payments, but he was taking all these trips to Ukraine. Yeah. Okay, so now this guy. Okay. So now, make sure to add this. So I'm just going to go through some different posts on here on the shirt. Make sure to add this to the other coincidence. Ryan Roop visited Fort Bragg 147 times. Now, what's interesting, if you take the suspect from the Bourbon Street attacks in New Orleans, okay, then you have this Matthew Leibelsberger, the apparent Las Vegas Cybertruck bomber, okay? Guess where Matthew Leibelsberger, and then what was the other dude's name? The guy who was flying the Islamist flag, the New Orleans guy. I've got his name up here on another thing, but I just don't have it up right now. But anyways, Jabbar, yeah, thank you. It reminds me of the evil villain in Aladdin, Jafar. Yeah. Anyways, they all, Fort Bragg. So, what's going on at Fort Bragg? Why are all these people coming out of Fort Bragg? Why is Ryan Ruth visiting Fort Bragg 147 times? And then you have to ask the obvious questions I mean, is the FBI stationed now at Fort Bragg? This is weird stuff, man. Weird stuff. Okay, you cannot, the Ukraine connection, the Fort Bragg connection, and then the fact all these people were radicalized shortly beforehand. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. I still am getting over this. And then they use a cyber truck in front of Trump Tower, and this guy doesn't have the money to buy cyber trucks. And then these other two guys, because you got the New York thing, and they all say they're not connected. They're telling us they're not connected. Yet they're renting cars from the same place, even with bad criminal driving records, driving after suspension, all this kind of stuff. I don't have anything against somebody who drives after suspension. That's not my point. My point is that they're easily able to rent cars from the same company. Oh, he rented the Cybertruck. Thank you. Thank you. This information keeps spilling out right now. So the Cybertruck was rented. Oh, that's right, because he had rented it from the same company. Sorry. I said, how does he even afford to rent a Cybertruck? To be perfectly honest, they're not cheap. Anyways. But it ends up being a commercial for Cybertruck because it doesn't explode. And then what I think is really interesting is that there's a gal down in New Orleans, Ann Kirkpatrick. Now, she's the female police chief. Do you know what she did just recently? In August? Yep, Brian, you can rent a Cybertruck. My friend George rented a Cybertruck once to drive around Colorado. There is a threat at the Capitol with a suspicious vehicle. I did see that. Yeah, Vincent got it. She ran over two people. So the police chief in New Orleans, this DEI hire, and this is really funny. Somebody put these two pictures together. I'm just going to hold this up. This is the lady, and this is that nut in Congress. What was her name? De Luca or whatever. Like, just look at the pictures side by side. And she was wasn't in Oakland, California. She was fired from Oakland, California. So but wait, here, I got to show you guys something. Oh, and then you guys have seen these headlines. I got to show you this too. Truck rams New Orleans crowd. You remember this? This all started back with the guy, the Christmas Day Massacre, who ran over the dancing grannies in, was that Kenosha, Wisconsin? No, what town in Wisconsin was that, folks? Maybe it was Kenosha. Trying to remember. But you guys remember. And it's all about the truck running over people. It's never the person. So now the New Orleans and Las Vegas attackers, we have been told, acted alone. The FBI has told us this. Yet, they're both U.S. Army veterans. They both served at Afghan. They were stationed at the same base. They used the Turo car sharing app and electric trucks. Just saying there's a whole string of coincidences. Could just be coincidence. Okay, let's see. Now here's something interesting. The Democrats never want to let a good crisis go to waste, right? And George Bush didn't either, because remember the Patriot Act as I go into this little story. But the New Orleans District Attorney, Jason Williams, is calling basically for this UK-like surveillance. And we're going to talk a little bit about the UK because some very interesting things happening there in the aftermath of the recent attack. The United Kingdom uses these CCTV cameras, okay, closed-circuit TV cameras, to implement all this state-like surveillance on their citizens, and then that's become a thing over there for people to dismantle the cameras and whatnot. We do not need any more spying mechanisms from the government. None. The UK, yes, they're locking up people for memes, but it gets worse, a lot worse. Oh man, this story will make you sick, the one I'm coming up on. Now, here's what's interesting. And Elon Musk had posted this too, and obviously it's his company, so he's pretty upset. He said, you don't hate the legacy media enough. And then there's 4 headlines. And here are the headlines that they posted after this. Tesla Cybertruck catches fire outside Trump Hotel in Las Vegas. Tesla Cybertruck reportedly catches fire outside Trump Hotel in Las Vegas. Okay. Another one. 1 dead after a Cybertruck explodes outside the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas. Another one. 1 dead after Tesla Cybertruck explodes outside Trump Hotel in Las Vegas. Now again, all these, and there's 100 others, folks. All of these headlines would lead you to believe that the problem was with what, folks? I mean, what's the problem in all these headlines? The Cybertruck. This is what they're saying. They're destroying his brand. They are attacking him. We are fed just spoon-fed such bullshit from our media all the time. And you had to remember, too, that the guy down in New Orleans apparently pledged to ISIS last summer, but he acted alone. He acted alone. How much more of this are we going to see before January 20th? And then, are they going to try to use that? Look, I'm not trying to be like some sort of conspiracy theorist here, and I'm not going to even run around and say these things are going to happen, but you really have to wonder at this point why all this stuff is happening before Inauguration Day. Okay? I'm going to move this story. Hold on. We'll get to another one. Did you guys hear this one? If you want to talk about doing damage before you leave office and what Joe Biden has tried to do with so many different things, but fortunately, because I take you back to the story we covered at the beginning, he's not going to be able to just arbitrarily make law anymore because of Chevron. Okay? But now he has rewarded Liz Cheney. Joe Biden rewarding Liz Cheney and Benny Thompson. Benny Thompson, by the way, is an actual insurrectionist. Look it up. He actually worked to try to overthrow the government of the United States of America. He now sits in the halls of Congress, and he was the head of the J6 committee. And now he's getting the Presidential Citizens Medal. That's right. Both he and Liz Cheney. The crap we've got to put up between now and Inauguration Day, it's just going to keep getting worse, folks. That's it. I just want you to know it's just going to get worse. Just expect it to get worse. Okay. Now, I'm going to show you something really wild here. Now, I'm going to just do this ghetto style. Sorry. I just went live on my phone, so this is what you're getting today. Just still not feeling real good. Okay. But I want you to look at this. And now, this lady right here is that same police chief I just showed you. Now, I want you to watch her face as the words are said. Maybe some of you have seen this clip. I don't know. But we're going to watch it together. So.
First of all, we do know that the city of New Orleans was impacted by a terrorist attack. It's all still under investigation.
See her face?
You'll hear more. First of all, we do know that the city of New Orleans was impacted by a terrorist attack. It's all still under investigation. You'll hear more
See,
First of all,
she didn't want to call it a terrorist attack. Now, what's interesting, and you know, I'm just going to say this: we have had a policy, and you'll remember this goes back to George Bush. You know, that Islam was just a religion of peace, and is basically equivalent to all other religions, yada yada yada. And yet, and they tell us that it's white domestic terrorism and so on. Years ago, folks, back when I was like 18 years old, I had roommates, and they were from Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and there was one other country right over in that area. They were all Muslim, and we talked, and actually I got along well with most of them. But I can guarantee you, they had very real hostilities to America and to Christianity, and so you cannot. So this whole idea that diversity is our strength. No. America became great because we were a melting pot. No, there's a vast difference between diversity and melting pot. Melting pot meant that people came here, okay? They came here and then they assimilated. They actually learned how to assimilate to our country and our culture. And then we became this homogeneous society. Now, it doesn't mean that we didn't, like carry some of our customs and cultures, like maybe food or, Spanish carried a lot of Catholicism. People had different religions, okay? But they assimilated and understood the banner of freedom in the Constitution of the United States of America. That is a big difference between the diversity that we're talked to about today. Okay? Just reality. So we need to send these people home. We need to send them home. Now, I told you I'd cover something on the Great Britain thing. Let me see here if I'm going to... Here, let me go this way. Oh, I wanted to cover this one quick, too. We were talking about Ann Kilpatrick, the New Orleans superintendent of police. Get this. Look what else we've just found out about her. What do you think her other job is? Okay, she's the superintendent of police, but she is also something else. And I want to see if anybody's seen this story. This is wild. What else is Ann Kirkpatrick? A stripper. No, God, no, are you kidding? Thank you. There it is. All right. Shelly got it. DEI teacher. And who is she a DEI teacher for? I just cannot make this crap up. Thank you, Kathleen. You got it. The FBI. There it is. So we now have Ann, the DEI hire, who is also an instructor for the FBI's leadership training program, where she instructs on bias and diversity. DEI is one of the worst things going, man. Anyways, here, but I want you all, this is an actual post by the FBI. And it says, thanks to all our friends Swifties who provided a little extra gear to our folks this weekend, everything goes with camo. This is an actual post. This was back on October 27th. But this, here's your FBI. Just take a look at that picture. Is this crazy or what? The FBI. A little extra gear. I think they're men. I mean, they have hairy arms. They could be European women. Anyways, that's now it gets even weirder. You guys ready for things to get weirder? Okay, first, just read this headline. Okay, Airbnb linked to New Orleans terror attacker. Bomb materials found in... Okay. And you think, well, yeah, Neil, but... Law enforcement was seen along the 1300 block of Mandeville Street in the Marigny neighborhood after a fire broke out around 5:30 a.m. in the suspected Airbnb property. I mean, does that seem weird to you? Why was a fire breaking out in the Airbnb property later? A lone wolf burned down his Airbnb. I don't know. How do they expect us to just buy all this crap? I mean, at some point, inquiring minds want to know. Okay. All right. Moving on. I told you I'd cover the UK thing really quick. And we're already sitting here at 32 minutes. I've been on too long already. But thank you for sticking with me. If you're new to the stream, please smash the like button. Do chat in with where you're from. Does help get the stream out. I think this next story is very, very important. And it's alarming. Okay. So, do you guys know who Keir Starmer is? Okay. He says the far right is a very real threat. A guy by the name of Peter Lloyd posted on X, he said, the far right doesn't drive into crowds. The far right doesn't target Christian markets. The far right doesn't blow up concerts. The far right doesn't gang rape girls. The far right aren't 90% of MI5's terror list. The far right isn't the problem. Now, here's what's interesting. So, Keir Starmer, just so you know, is the Prime Minister of Great Britain. Got it? Elon Musk tweeted this out. This is wild. In the UK, serious crimes such as rape require the Crown Prosecution Service's approval for the police to charge suspects. In the UK, serious crimes such as rape require the Crown Prosecution Service's approval for the police to charge suspects. Now, here's a question for you, a little trivia question for you and my audience. Who was the head of the CPS, that's Crown Prosecution Service, not Child Protective Services, okay, but who was the head of CPS when rape gangs were allowed to exploit young girls without facing justice? Who do you guys think was the head of that CPS when they were allowed to gang rape girls. This is again in the UK. I saw somebody say that, no, the far right, no, it was not Farage. It was Starmer. Exactly. You guys got it. Starmer. So the very guy who is telling us that the problem is far right, white nationalists, these kinds of people, he was the one leading it. And folks, this story is getting wild. It's blowing up all over X. Elon Musk, this is why they hate Elon so badly. This is why they are jailing people for social media posts in the UK, because it implicates the people at the top. Somebody's in the UK. Iron John Land. Yeah, it's nuts. This is nuts. Okay. And now Tommy Robinson is rotting in jail over there. He brought this stuff to light. And so here's some headlines. Elon Musk demands release of UK far-right ringleader Tommy Robinson from prison. Elon Musk demands Tommy Robinson be freed from prison in fresh conspiracy claims. Elon Musk call for Tommy Robinson release anger Labour MPs. Elon Musk call for Tommy Robinson to be released from prison. Okay? The UK legacy media are having a meltdown, it says. And it's all about far-right and conspiracy theories, okay? This is the same media. This is from Elon now. He says, this is the same media that hid the fact that 250,000 little girls still are, being systematically raped by migrant gangs in Britain. They are beneath contempt, despicable human beings. I mean, oh my, I just saw this. This is new. Breaking: Joe Biden and Jake Sullivan are considering bombing Iran right now before President Trump takes office if Iran gets closer to making a nuke. I'm no fan of Iran. Can we just stop the crap and let Trump take office? I'm just telling you, people. So go back to the first story I covered. Net neutrality, governmental control of information. The pen is mightier than the sword. The very fact that there's 2,600 of you on right now watching this, learning this, having information you can share with people, this is what gets them so upset. They can't have you know what they're doing in darkness, people. So, like I said, I started off with a couple wins, but really, in reality right now, folks, if I wanted to cover bad news, breaking bad news, it's a 24/7 deal right now. And I don't see this slowing down between now and the 20th. So, I mean, where are you guys at? I mean, what do you think? No crutches. No, I've got my crutches. They're just not back here. My foot's still in bad shape. Thank you for asking. Fortunately, I'm overcoming that flu or whatever I had. Boy, that was awful. So I like to cover wins. That's what I really like to cover, folks. I like to see us winning. I'm going to say one other thing, too. Mike Johnson. Let's talk about this really quickly. I made a post about it on X today. I'll tell you what I said. Because I'm just going to say this. I mean, hopefully you guys can get where I'm coming from. By the way, please go check out MyPillow, mypillow.com. Use promo code Lumberjack for big savings. Okay, covered that. Big sales right now, after Christmas sales, huge clearance events, that kind of thing that you can take advantage over there right now. And treat yourself to a down comforter if you don't have one. You'll love it. All right. I said, I'm not a fan of Speaker Johnson. He's let us down on spending, privacy rights, foreign aid. I could go on, folks. But if Trump wants him, just let it be. All right, seriously. You don't need to make any more posts about how Mike Johnson is bad, how he's evil, or anything like that. Just let it be. Here's the reason. I do not know as much, and I don't have access to the same information as Trump does. Trump isn't always right, but folks, he has at least earned the right to start his administration out on time and with our support. I love many of Trump's cabinet picks. And I want Trump seated, and I want those picks confirmed. We were able to get rid of that terrible sheriff from Florida, and others were removed from the list early on. Trump has kept his transition team tight, and there have not been a bunch of leaks. It's too late in the game, folks, okay? And Trump needs to hit the ground running. Johnson can be removed later if he doesn't get himself squared away. And I'll be honest, I have my doubts. I do. But now is not the time. Okay. I saw somebody post "In Trump we trust." I think that's an overstatement. So I'm just going to say, in God we trust. I have not agreed with every decision Donald Trump made. And that's my right as an American. 100% my right. But he is, folks, the last best shot we have at saving this country. Jesus trusted no man because he knew what was in the heart of man. So I'm going to just trust that this is part of God's plan, part of God's timing. Because what else am I going to do anyways? Again, I don't have access to the same information that Donald Trump does. I know that Trump wants a successful administration. So, like I say, there comes a point, folks, you fight. This is the same thing in primaries. You fight, you fight, you fight. You do what you can for your candidate, all that. But when your candidate, if they lose, you're going to have to get behind somebody, and you're not going to agree with them all the time. Okay? That's it. Okay? Am I making sense to everybody? Am I making sense? Because I'm not. It is hard for me. I mean, there's so much that I feel Speaker Johnson has done wrong. Okay? But I worked hard to get Trump elected. I did my part. And that happened. And so now I'm going to have to trust. That's it. All right. Everybody's asking me to pray, so I'll pray quick. Father God, thank you so much. Thank you so much that we do not have Kamala Harris as the president-elect. Thank you so much that you've exposed so much and awakened so many people. Thank you for everything you do for us each and every day. Lord, we pray that you would be the Lord of our hearts and the Lord of Trump's heart. Help us, Father, to do righteously. And God bless America. Lord, thank you for our great nation. Lord, we just ask and we pray that you would see us through difficult times ahead. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. See you in the next episode, folks. Peace out.